Welcome to yours, family. One of my favorite things during this week is the FEMA Friday, FEMA Family Friday. I know you guys are all working hard, trying to figure the next steps, so hopefully we bring you some pleasure and we enjoy it together. Really, I get really excited and get all kind of ideas of what we can do. I'm also going to have a tip of the day that I will put on the site. And we're going to do a really simple risotto. I mean, risotto, everybody when they hear the name, for those of you who have make it, they go, oh my gosh, it's too complicated. Actually, it's really one of the easiest things to do. It's classically, it requires a lot of really hand holding, and just like my children. And I just yelled at my daughter, so now she knows not to interrupt me. You can't interrupt. And so, but if you hold it properly, it will really give you a wonderful, creamy, voluptuous, very wonderful texture and flavor. So one of the great things that I like to do is to make sure that everything is laid out. If it's all laid out there, it makes your process easier. So we're gonna make a salmon risotto. We have some sockeye salmon, some grass-fed butter, arborio rice, white wine. A wooden spoon is really important for risotto. Some vegetable stock. And one of the great things about right now, you guys are all cooking with a lot of vegetables. Put the camera back. The stock is not talking to you. So you're working with carrots, you're working with celery, with onion. Keep all those scraps. And then wash them. Little salt and pepper on them. Put them in the oven at 500 degrees till they almost could get to the point where right before they burn, and then put them in water and boil them for like an hour, then strain them through a strainer and you get the most beautiful stock. Add whatever vegetables you have in it and it will really give it a wonderful texture. But there's plenty of vegetable stock or chicken stock available. My wife is pescatarian, so we're making ours pescatarian, but classically speaking, the risotto takes chicken stock in it. Making sacrifices for the wifey. That's what I do. My pans, onions, turmeric. You can use saffron if you want to. I decided I'm going to use turmeric because you probably have that in the house. Salt, pepper, cream. 2 different types of oil. One is olive oil for at the end, and one for the beginning to saute my onions, and grated Parmesan cheese. So let's start. I'm going to make a risotto for 4 people. Okay, so around 2 to 3 tablespoons of rice bran oil. You can use grapeseed oil. You can use avocado oil, which tends to be a little bit more flavorful, and that's why I don't like it, but it's very healthy as well. 1 full onion diced, and pay attention. I'm using really high heat when I do this. And one of the critical piece, what I want to do in here is get these onions to cook nice and be translucent. I want to get the acidity out of the onion. I want to get the sugar, and I want to caramelize the onion. You know, if you don't have enough oil in it, just add a little bit of oil. It will dissipate at some point. And I want to just keep getting it working. Right before the onions are translucent, that's when I'm going to add my rice. So this is not like cooking your basmati rice at home, or this is a totally different process where you are really sauteing the rice. And see, the color of my onions is starting to change. Now I'm going to let them sort of stick to the bottom of the pan a little bit. And Mademoiselle Director, my salmon. You'll notice that my salmon, I get it out and I leave it at room temperature a little bit. And the reason being is that I want it to reach room temperature, so when I put it in, it's not cold. And when it's cold, the inside cooks slower. That means I'm most likely will have to burn the outside in order for it to cook all the way through, but also to dry it out a little bit so when I'm sauteing it, it doesn't stick in the pan. So my salmon is sitting right now at a safe temperature, and because we're going to be sauteing it while the risotto is cooking. So my onions are starting to take shape. They're not quite ready, but I'm gonna finish them by doing two things. I'm gonna add, so when you're making risotto, the rule of thumb, your risotto 1 cup will become 2.5 cups when it's finished. And so it's around a 3/4 cup per person, unless you're the FEMA family, so it's 6 cups. So I'm gonna add my rice, and this is already measured in my head from all the years, but make sure you measure it if you want, if you feel like it. If not, if you don't measure it, you won't mess it up. What I'm doing right now is breaking the starch in the rice. It's a short grain rice, and I'm really sauteing the rice. I'm introducing that onion flavor inside the rice. So you'll notice that there is no liquid right now. I'm sauteing it. I'm gonna add my turmeric. So as a rule, there are exceptions to it. Spices comes in 3 colors: red and dark, yellow and light, green. Red is what you want to add in the beginning of your dish. The yellow and the lighter ones in the middle of your dish, and the green ones is what you finish your dish with. Example, if I was going to do a paprika risotto, my paprika will go in right now. If I am going to do a basil risotto, my basil will go in. I'm going to cut it, and my basil will go in right about when I'm about ready to serve it, so it doesn't lose its flavor. So the darker the color, the earlier; the lighter the color, later. Green goes in at the end. So I'm going to do 1.5 tablespoons of turmeric. And what I'm trying to do, you see out there, when you are at home, you'll be able to smell it. It's going to smell very smoky. The rice is going to start smoking on you nicely. And here's what I'm doing is really making sure that what happens to this rice is that it absorbs the flavor. One of the big things when I usually have risotto, and it's not mine or my mom's, it tends to be very bland. And this way, by doing it this way, I'm going to use a lot less salt because I'm developing a lot of flavor. I'm going to add my stock now. So my stock right here. You know that hood? Now we're putting it on. And all I did right now is deglaze. And now I'm going to add my wine. What the wine is going to do to this risotto, and so you're going to add around 3 cups of wine. And now I'm going to drop my temperature a little bit. What this risotto is going to do right now is going to start absorbing all the liquid. So here's the deal with risotto. Do not add all the liquid at the same time, because if you do, you will have mush. What I'm looking for is a creamy texture, but that also has a nice al dente, a nice nutty flavor at the end. So risotto wants to be cuddled, it wants to be cajoled, it wants to be massaged, and it wants to be fed slowly. So we're going to feed it slowly. So we added our wine. With the wine, unlike your vegetable stock, it's extremely important that that all the wine is cooked off first before you add any other liquid. Otherwise, your risotto is going to be vinegary. What we're trying to do right now is get that alcohol out, get that acidity out, and all that we want to keep in there is the flavor, the beautiful flavor of the grapes. Nice, beautiful grapes. And don't get a wine that's sweet, like a Gewürztraminer or Riesling. Sauvignon Blanc, a Chardonnay will work just fine. Just make sure it's not sweet, because we do not want any sugar besides what's already in there. So you see how much it's absorbing all this liquid very quickly and fast? It's really a dish that absorbs and absorbs and absorbs, you know, until it's ready. And it will tell you when it's ready. risotto, we'll tell you when it's ready. So I'm gonna keep what I have out there in terms of stock, and now I'm gonna add water. So now I give you the measurement of, and I'm gonna increase my heat now. I'm gonna be at all the way. And I'm adding my water in here and letting my risotto cook. So while my risotto is cooking, I'm gonna get my saute pan right here, and I'm gonna get my salmon going. I don't like my salmon being too hot, and I like to cook it, and I like to let it sit, especially sockeye salmon, which is very rich. I like it to be I like to saute it on one side and drop it on the other side and let it be. So I'm gonna do my pan, and you'll notice it's not a non-stick pan, it's a regular saute pan. And you'll also notice that my salmon right here, skin side salmon, there is no salt and pepper in here. I haven't seasoned it at all. And there is a reason why. I want to get my pan very hot, and I'll explain it in a little bit. I need to get my tongs right now. And one of the beautiful things about salmon in a dish like the risotto, that marine flavor is going to really balance out beautifully with that rich, deep turmeric and rich flavor of the risotto. You'll notice my risotto right now still cooking, but I need to keep stirring it because I'm at a high heat. I don't want anything stuck to the bottom. When my pan slightly starts to, I see just a little bit of a smoke, which is what we call in the kitchen is white smoke. If you see a gray smoke, that means you burn it and you smell it. Discard that, get a new pan, get new oil, otherwise you're going to be cooking food the way Jake Vernon cooks his food, without any flavor, or worse off, with really bad flavor. So it's important that the pan is hot. It's important that the oil is hot, because that's what's going to allow me to create that nice, beautiful, crispy skin on the bottom. And what I'm going to do right now is season my pan versus of seasoning the fish. And I'm going to season the fish as well. But I'm going to start with the pan. That's going to allow the skin, that little barrier is going to allow the skin it's going to help the skin not stick to the pan. Just that little barrier of salt out there. I don't put any pepper, because if I do, the pepper is going to burn in there. The black pepper is going to go on the skin and the salmon itself. How do I know if it's ready? You just see that? Can they hear it? Yeah. I know it's ready right now. So I'm going to go like that. And as soon as you put it down, put your hand and a little pressure. All you're doing by giving it some pressure is making sure because what's going to happen to the salmon, as soon as you put it down, it's going to want to come back up. And if it does, it's going to stick. By pushing it down, you are making sure that the salmon does not stick to the bottom. A little salt, very little salt, very little pepper, and I'm going to let 90% of my, well actually 80% of my cooking is going to be on the skin side. You don't have to eat the skin. It's my favorite part of the salmon if it's done well, if it's really crisp, if it's really beautiful, and you'll see the way we do our skin. But always cook with it. You can always take it out, but because it adds so much flavor to the fish, it adds so much nutrition to the fish. So I'm going to let that happen while our risotto is still cooking and still doing some beautiful, beautiful magic. Right now, the grain is breaking in there. And remember, I'm cooking for a family of 4 that eats like 6. So yours will probably take a little bit less time. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. We enjoy our food. We love to eat. We love to eat. I mean, our pastime is eating. I wonder why. So I'm still going out there. How do I know when my salmon is ready? Well, you will look, it starts to develop a beautiful, beautiful film all around. It develops what we call a crown. And we want that crown to be slightly deeper inside. See, right now it's on the outskirt right there. I want it to be just a little bit more out there. Don't worry. If you let it go too far, it's okay, because you're not going to overcook your salmon. You're just going to make your skin on the salmon crispier. That's why I'm starting with the skin side down, and then I'm going to finish it with the skin side up. And I'm going to finish it with at a small fire and so my salmon is not dry. When I turn it on, I'm going to turn it off, and it's just the existing heat is what's going to create the heat I need to finish the salmon. Guess what happens to my salmon? It cooks all the way through. You don't have to have it medium rare. And if you want it medium rare, you just pull it off sooner. But you can cook it all the way through because you're not using direct heat. You're using heat that's already in the pan to cook your salmon. So you will see right now how beautiful. Look at that. Look at that skin. Look how beautiful that is. Now, if this was a red snapper, I would score it because I don't want that skin. And guess what I'm going to do to my salmon right now? I'm going to turn it off and let it be. You can always come back and turn it back on, but right now, I'm going to work on my risotto. So guess what's happening to my risotto right now? It's beautifully working. I told you it requires a lot of love. So I want to get this to a point where it's almost dry. So while this is happening, risotto traditionally in Italy, it's almost served with a ladle, family style, and it's served in a soup bowl. A risotto is not supposed to be dry, it's supposed to be wet. And there is so much debate with chefs and in the restaurant community. Listen, this is how I like it, this is how I was raised. Sicilian grandmother, she knows risotto, and she knows it really very, very well.